So essentially, it's body awareness. And if you've ever had a gut feeling and you've listened to it, that's body awareness.
Welcome to the Servant Leaders Mindset channel. Where we help leaders to grow in wisdom, purpose, self-awareness, and service. Up next. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Lena Holmes, and this is the Servant Leaders Mindset. Today's show is all about self-awareness. Many of you who watch or listen to the show hear me talk about this topic often. My next guest is a specialist in this area, and she specializes in helping leaders to develop self-awareness through what she calls body intelligence or somatic awareness. Jennifer is an executive coach, speaker, and author of a book titled Somatic Awareness, Leading with Body Intelligence. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Lena. I'm very excited to be here with you and to have the conversation that we're going to have today.
Excellent. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate you on the book. I read it and I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
reading it. I think it will be extremely valuable to our listeners. So my first question for you is to define or describe what somatic awareness is, because I'm pretty sure most people may or may not have heard about it.
Yeah. And what I've noticed with people is they've experienced it, but the language is something that they may not have heard before. But once they understand what it is, oh yeah, I've had that happen. So somatic awareness, the Greek word for soma in Greek means body. So essentially it's body awareness. And if you've ever had a gut feeling and you've listened to it, that's body awareness. And I've yet to meet anybody that has said that it hasn't worked out for them when they've trusted their gut. So it's all about listening to the body. Sensation, physical sensation is a universal language. It's our first language. None of us came into the world being able to speak, but we had sensations in order to alert people to our needs. And as we mature, we are often encouraged to come more from our heads than our bodies. But when we can integrate the two, then we can really, that makes a powerful difference.
Excellent. So in your book, you talk about emotions, that emotions are triggered in the brain and they take data, sensory data or sensory information that it receives from the body. So contrary to what many people who are not familiar with brain anatomy, our bodies provide our brain with the sensory data, which in turn is interpreted, as you explained so eloquently in your book, which is interpreted by the brain. So in your book, you focus on two parts of the brain, which is the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Can you explain to our audience how these two areas of the brain influence our emotions?
Yeah, yeah. I'll give an example. Have you ever touched a hot stove? And if so, did you have to think about removing your finger from it? Probably not. What is the best way to remove my finger from this? No, it's just a reaction. Okay. That is the body protecting us. That's coming from the amygdala. And we want that in situations where it's life or death. But most of the time in our modern day life, the situation is very uncomfortable, perhaps, but it's not unsafe. When it's unsafe, we want that quick reaction of taking the finger, off the hot stove. But in our day to day, we want to be able to assess, and by noticing what's going on in the body, that gives us a chance to determine that reaction that we're having inside Okay, to be able to pause and is this unsafe or just uncomfortable? Or other navigation techniques to calm the nervous system. What that does is it keeps us connected to the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex is where we have our best thinking, we have our confidence, we can co regulate well with others, we work better with other people. Because when we're in survival mode, that's coming from the amygdala. We get tunnel vision, and all we're thinking about is surviving. We don't have the capacity to be thinking about other people. And that results in different circumstances than if we take that moment to pause, calm our nervous system, stay connected to that prefrontal.
Excellent. And you use some wonderful examples of clients that you've helped to navigate their
Mhm.
emotions in this way. So, and you also developed a model, which you call
Yeah.
notice, name, and navigate. And so,
Yes.
can you tell our audience a little bit about your system in which
Mhm.
you help leaders to better regulate their emotions?
Yeah, yeah, the 3N model. And one client that I worked with, we had worked together long enough that she had honed the skill of noticing. And when she was up at the podium getting ready to give a presentation, she noticed the physical sensation that was telling her that she wasn't feeling safe. Instead of getting hijacked by the amygdala, she was able to notice the tension, the gut, all of these kinds of sensations going on and ask herself, is this unsafe or just uncomfortable? Is this a snake or is this a stick? And look out and see her audience and understand that they are not a bunch of saber-toothed tigers. Calmed her nervous system down so that she could really give that presentation from her prefrontal cortex. Much different experience for her and for her audience.
Yeah, that's excellent. Can you talk about perhaps some strategies? I like at the end of each chapter, you have an exercise. And so
Mhm.
can you talk about some of those strategies that people can use? Because we probably confront more situations that are uncomfortable than there's a safety issue. Can you talk a little bit about what strategies leaders can use in order to navigate their emotions when they're in an uncomfortable situation?
Yeah, yeah, there's actually a number of things that leaders can do. And I really specialize in teaching very subtle, simple techniques that can be done anywhere, anytime. One of those is activating the vagus nerve. So the key in all of this is noticing the physical sensations first. And a person, if you're sitting in a meeting and you're noticing that you're starting to get activated, one of the things that you can do is activate your vagus nerve by taking two fingers, just putting it, behind your ear, going down an inch or two, and that can look as casual as something like this. Just the fingertips there against that vagus nerve. Oftentimes that leads to a deep breath, can help slow things down and regulate things. Other things that can be done are noticing your feet on the floor, the chair that's supporting it. It's all about helping the body feel safe. Proactive measure that you can do. If you're going into a meeting and you know that you're likely to get activated in this meeting, take before you even sit down, just notice where are the windows, where are the doors that orients the body so it will feel safer. That, okay, I know the way out if this truly becomes an unsafe situation. Seeing and sensing, that's another beautiful technique that people can use. And that's just a matter of, again, when you notice that you're getting activated, just scanning the room. That doesn't have to be obvious. Letting your eyes land on something pleasing or someone that has a facial expression that helps you feel safe. That'll be enough too to help calm the nervous system. Tuning into your five senses. I just talked about that with a client today. And that's a matter of just what can I see? What's one thing I can see? What's one thing that I can smell? All of these things help us to stay connected to that prefrontal cortex and come from a regulated place.
So making that switch, you talk a lot
Mhm.
about switching from when you switched to the prefrontal cortex, that switch allows you to also look at the situation with curiosity. Now,
Yes.
curiosity for me means that you seek to understand before you seek to be understood. So it's
Yes.
really kind of walking into a situation and accepting that maybe you don't have all the information. How, in your way, in describing and defining curiosity or making that switch to curiosity, how do you define curiosity in those circumstances?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's very important to all of this. That we really can't be curious unless we feel safe enough. Back to that hot stove again. There's no time for, curiosity there. And so we need to be really mindful of how we're talking to ourselves too, because safety and curiosity, those go together. But judgment and fear, those are at the other end of the spectrum. And so, something I will do to help me in staying on the rails with being curious is sometimes in a conversation, I might just begin with out of curiosity or I'm curious about this. That helps, that helps send the message to my body that, okay, I'm safe enough to be curious.
So curiosity is for this model, it's more about understanding whether it's safe or not, or what the situation uh, what the situation merits at that particular moment.
Yes.
Okay, in terms of
Yeah.
behavior. Okay.
Yeah, in terms of behavior, and that's gonna make a big difference in relationships too, and how we co-regulate with others, because safety and fear are just like any other emotion, they're contagious. When we're spreading fear, that's not good for anybody.
Yeah,
When we
that
can come from a place of safety, people are gonna feel that. They're gonna know whether they know what's going on or not, but then that allows us to problem solve together. Another client had a situation, colleague comes into her office, very, very activated. This person was angry. She was somatically aware enough that she could say, I I hear you. Can we set a time to revisit this? That was enough to help the situation, and this person agreed. They got together at a different time when they both had regulated nervous systems, and they came up with a brand new solution that hadn't even been on the table before. And that's the one that worked for them.
think that this model too helps. When I was reading your book, I was thinking about, because I do a lot of training on conflict resolution. And I
Yeah.
think that it's very helpful to, in particular, when the amygdala is very active and people are
Yes.
very upset, is
Yeah.
to first regulate before you try to even address what the conflict is. So,
Yes.
yeah, this works for many situations where emotions might be high.
And I talk with the language that I use with leaders around that is support before solving. What that looks like is validating people and noticing when we're feeling the impulse to jump in and fix, to navigate that, to not go there yet. Because what we can do is we can, hear the person because people need to be seen, heard, and believed. So we hear them. What we're listening for is the emotion that they're feeling. They might tell us. If they don't, we can always ask at an opportune time. What that does is it helps a person feel validated. When they feel validated, that's going to help them feel safer. And here's the beautiful thing. Then that helps them get to their prefrontal cortex. And they might, in that, oh, the solution might be obvious. That empowers them. And as a leader, then that helps the leader be able to spend more time on visioning and leading
Mhm.
than
Absolutely.
helping to put out fires.
Yeah, absolutely. And also not getting into the only way I can describe it is getting into that energy of being triggered yourself. Like you said, when
Exactly.
somebody walks into a room, and that can be, and you also mentioned this in your book, is that fear can be contagious and that it sets a tone. The person coming in with those high level emotions could actually trigger you, even though they might be upset about something else that happened with someone else. So,
Exactly.
so
What I hear you
validating.
describing there is we all have a window of tolerance. And when we're riding on the edge of that, yeah, it doesn't take much to get tipped over into survival mode. And that's where the amygdala is running the show.
Absolutely. So, as a person that's worked myself in the mental health space,
Hmm.
I know that trauma, especially childhood trauma, is not easy to fix. So,
Right.
how do you evaluate whether a person is needs more of intensive mental health intervention as opposed to the normal experience of feeling the stress or being triggered by situations in the workplace?
That really comes from meeting the person where they're at, being present with the person. And that's what coaching is about. And counselors, therapists, they're trained to go into the past with people. Coaches, like myself, are there to meet the person in the present. Now, trauma that happened in the past, if it hasn't been processed, it's going to show up in the present. And what I found with my clients is they know what they need. And many of them will already have a counselor that they're working with in conjunction with a coach. And that can be a great recipe for someone. I am their thought partner, and I'm working with them to help them find the right answer. The right answer is going to be unique because it's going to be what works for that person. And we can stay right in the moment. We don't have to go to the past because again, those emotions, that trauma that hasn't been processed, that will show up in the workplace under, a little different cover. But one way we address that is by acknowledging that that is a part of the body. This comes from Richard Swartz's work with internal family systems, that there is a part of you that's still, it's trying to protect you, getting curious. A lot of us will try to run from that, fight it. That keeps us stuck. It's very important to get curious by, thanking that part for trying to protect me. And what are you trying to protect me from? Kind of thing. And speaking with curiosity and compassion.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I always ask when I'm interviewing people who are doing coaching, I often ask that question because coaching is very different than therapy or mental health therapy. And I had someone that actually sent to a mental health professional during the coaching because there was some serious trauma
Yeah.
that she was actually going through. But I continued to coach her, and it can complement what you are doing. It doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other, but
Oh no.
coaching can
Yeah.
very much complement what the therapist is
Yeah.
doing with that individual in terms of getting
Both
to that.
ways really accelerate that progress for the
Exactly.
client.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, So, in terms of techniques, what are some of the techniques you use to help clients to become more aware of the signals that their bodies are sending to their brains? Your book provides some simple exercises how to scan your
Hmm.
body. So if you could talk about
Yeah.
how can someone scan their body and understand that these are signals of fear or signals that where the emotional part of the amygdala is triggered.
Yeah. What I often invite people to do is make noticing a part of their existing daily habits, whether that's making your bed, brushing your teeth, whenever you wash your hands, do a scan. Notice what sensations are going on. Are you feeling tense? Is your heart beating a little fast? What might that be about? Or are you feeling expansive and joyful? It's, equally important to notice that too. We want to have that awareness before we need it. And when we start practicing that noticing, that gives us an opportunity then to, okay, am I feeling fearful? It's generally always some flavor of fear, but we can get more granular than that. What kind of fear is this? Or is it anger? Or there's that emotional wheel that can be very handy because what it does, it gives meaning to our lived experience and it helps us make sense of things. We want to, in the moment, really stay as much in the body as we can and trust the rest of the process is going to unfold the way it's meant to with a regulated nervous system. So noticing, oh, my heart's beating kind of fast. Okay, I'm giving a presentation. Ooh, all right. Is this unsafe or just uncomfortable? Or, looking around the room. And we can practice these things. We want to practice these things in, low level risk situations. Start practicing them at home or just anywhere and everywhere so that you're ready when you need when the intensity is greater.
Okay. So, can you make the connection for people out in the audience that have not read your book yet? How does all of this work in the workplace?
Mhm.
What value does doing this work have to a person that's leading an organization?
Well, there are several layers of value. One I would say is when fear gets smaller, life gets bigger. The other is just being able to come from that prefrontal cortex, working smarter rather than harder, bringing more ease into the situation. That's where you're going to get your most innovative ideas, your new ways of doing things, and your ability to work well with you're just going to have so much less stress, and when you have less stress you have so much more capacity to make a difference,
Hmm.
to make a positive difference in the
Very good.
world.
So
Yeah.
you identify as a Christian, and many people,
Mhm.
then identify as Christians. But in terms
Mhm.
of values, how does your faith inform what you do with your coaching practice?
Yeah, that's a big part. My top two values are faith and connection, and I am often sharing with people, trust the process and stay active in it. For me, that is equivalent to having faith. Not everybody is comfortable with faith based language. So I want to be cognizant of that. And being able to talk about what trusting the process and staying active in it is for some going to be a more comfortable way of moving forward. My priority is helping people, meeting them where they're at, helping them move forward. Now, I get to know clients, and some also have a similar value set to me. And we can talk about that. We can talk about that as having faith. And, it's about the right answer is one that works. What's going to work for this client right now, right here?
Mhm, mhm. Very good, excellent. So,
Mhm.
my final question for you, if anybody in the
Yeah.
audience wants to buy your book or learn more about you and what you do and how you do it, what is the best way
Mhm.
for them to connect with you?
Yeah, they can visit my website, which is www.somaticallyaware.com. Somatically aware.com. That'll be your one-stop shop. If you want to fast track to the book, go to Amazon and search for somatic awareness leading with body intelligence. It's available as both a paperback, you get an electronic copy, and it's also available as an audiobook. It's a quick read, less than 100 pages, and it's doing exactly what I wanted it to do because Dr. Lena, you gave me the same feedback that it gets to the heart of the matter, that you can read it quickly and return to it as much as you need to
Absolutely.
bring this model into your life and begin to have fear get smaller in your life and life get bigger.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. You have given our audience some very valuable information. So thank you again for being a guest on the show today.
Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Lena. It's been a pleasure to be here with you and your audience.